What is going on, everybody? Dom here with Clover Trading, coming at you with another video. Today we have something special. I have Randy Walker here with me. Thank you for being here. I brought J-Bones on a few months ago, last year, I think, and we talked a little bit about his journey, who he is as a trader, what he likes to do. We're going to do the same thing with Randy Walker today. He is one of the Michigan boys. You've probably heard I'm from Michigan. There's a lot of good friends and family of mine who I've taught how to trade, Randy Walker being one of the first. He is also my only Millionaire student when it comes from that one-on-one type of teaching in an office setting. So excited to have him here today. If you like the content, if you have any questions for Randy Walker or want to get a hold of him, leave a comment below. Make sure to like the video and we will get right into it. All right, Randy Walker, welcome into the Clover Trading Faux podcast today. I want to do things a little bit differently than I did with Jordan. I want you to talk a little bit about yourself and how you got into trading, kind of your first little bit of success. But for some reason, all you people out there love the drawdown stuff. You love it when traders struggle and you love hearing them talk about it. We're going to kind of emphasize that today for a good 10 or 15 minutes. You are probably sick of hearing about my drawdowns and listening to my tough end of 2022 into 2023. I've talked about it extensively. So now I kind of want to hear going a year back to when Randy Walker struggled, and we'll really throw an emphasis on that today, because I think so many of you learn from seeing, especially successful traders who've had a nice run of consistent profitability. Where do they trip up? Why do they trip up? And how do they get back on track? So that's going to be the focus of today. So Randy Walker, without further ado, who are you?
Well, I started trading back in 2019. I dropped out of college. I really had no plan, no good plan. I was introduced to you from a family friend, and that was back when you were kind of getting the office together. I didn't know much about trading. I'd read maybe a couple books, but that was it. So I started in, I think it was March of 2019. I just jumped right into it.
Jumped right in. You were quiet. You just showed up to the office. This was back in the time when, if you heard in J-Bone's story, Jack Kellogg lived with me. We had J-Bones. We had Randy. We had Dombrowski. It was a jam-packed office. You were kind of the most outsider of the group, who just kind of, we weren't friends before. Like I said, it was a random connection. You were just kind of there and you were quiet. And the cool thing about your story is you didn't do it the conventional way, like studying wise. Like, how did you learn everything you knew about trading in the first year?
It was a lot of just screen time. I just showed up every day, every single day.
On time back then?
On time back then.
Yeah.
Now, not so much. Back then it was every day on time until the market closes. It was screen time. Ask me questions. Like if I didn't understand something, I went straight to you.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like back then which is I wish more students, especially ones I work with in person, you almost trusted me blindly. Like It's just like a blind faith that he knows what he's doing. A lot of beginners, like they try to reinvent the wheel too early. And I do think every trader needs to find out who they are. But if you find a mentor that you really want to be like and that fits their styles, in the beginning, it's almost better to accept everything as fact until you're proven that they're either full of crap or you figure out a better way to do it. But you legit just sat behind me every day. You didn't really ask a lot of questions. You just watched every button I clicked, and maybe if something really piqued your interest, like why did we do that here? Well, where was the risk level? When did we move the risk level? It was very unconventional. He's the only one I've ever taught who, like, I gave him the information, all the DVDs, the guides, everything to study, but I don't think he watched.
I think I watched Trading Ticker.
Okay.
And that's
the best one.
Yeah.
But
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And so 2019, you didn't trade a lot. You kind of had a slow start. That was also when one of my first drawdowns happened. So it was kind of a weird spot in the office. That was towards the end of when Jack was living with us, and we were all trying to learn listed stocks for the first time because we primarily did OTCs.
Yeah, and when I first started, it was just OTCs. I remember we didn't even look at listed stocks.
No,
it was just
a different
very odd time.
Yeah.
But the OTCs dried up, so we had to move on.
What did that look like for you?
I think we focused on one pattern. I remember it was first red days. I think we started kind of tracking a bit when it was just me and you in the office. When everybody kind of it was just for a while, and that was kind of what began my profitability.
Was short selling?
Was in the beginning, yeah.
Okay.
And then it kind of led to some issues later, but yeah.
Okay, and then you started to go on your run. Obviously, 2020 was very fruitful for many traders out there. We had increased range, volatility, liquidity, people in the game. Everything was just on fire. For me, that was the time when I really started to adhere all my patterns from OTCs into listed. We had multi-day breakouts. We had first red days. We had some panic dip buys. We had first green days. It was a great market to kind of, if you were prepared for it, which is kind of cool. You were kind of done it for like a full year beforehand of not really trading a lot, but really like you said, screen time, diving in. So you were prepared for that time, and you kind kind of went on a pretty fast trajectory upwards.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. From 2019, I think I lost about $3,000, and then in 2020, I made about $400,000.
So quick shift
It was
there.
quick, yeah.
And do you think it's just like, because he's kind of a wild ball when it comes to trading. He's not afraid to click the buttons. And I almost prefer to have that problem in the very beginning when people are trading with small accounts, that it's very hard to teach someone how to click buttons if they're very tentative. They don't trust themselves a lot. And I don't know if it's you trust yourself or if you just enjoy risk. Like, how was the process of sizing up for you to where you go from trading a relatively small account in the beginning to growing it probably thousands of % in a year?
It was one trade specifically that I remember that was it was a perfect storm, and I just threw my whole account on it. It was CYDY.
Okay, yeah, the last great one.
It was exactly, yeah. And it was, I think my best trade up until then was maybe about $2,000, which was normal. I was playing like breakouts, green days, stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, this huge panic dip buy came up, and I put I think my account was maybe at 40,000, and I made 7,000 on the trade.
Yeah. Was that like your light bulb moment?
It was. I'm like, okay,
when there's a setup,
up. Yeah.
When there's a setup worth it, there's no fear in me. Like I want to make as much as possible on it. And you just kind of took that and parlayed it into kind of just exponentially growing your accounts and making a lot of money really, really fast. But also that was the type of market we were in. And it was kind of imperative if you've been trading the last year or two to make your nut in those 2 years, because we've seen very different markets since then. What were some of the habits that you learned in 2020 and 2021 that probably set you up for what we'll start talking about now, which is a very rough 2022?
It was almost, I think, the fact there was something to trade every day. And so I felt like you kind of had to be there, just grinding.
Yep.
And then when that liquidity dried up, you kind of still feel like you were in the same pattern of, oh, I have to show up and like trade every day.
You're also in your first couple years of your career. I know I felt that way too for a while. It was hard to kind of shut it off, where you get excited. You're like, I want to break that month's record. I want to break last year's record. Trading is so different than your regular job where you just kind of work your way up. You make the same amount or you have a small raise, you get bonuses. Trading is very, very up and down. And for me, 2023 being the down year that it was, it's crazy to think that you can go from making $1 million to 500,000 to nothing or to losing money.
Yeah.
What were some of the bad habits? It was trading often, want to be in something all the time.
Yeah.
What about sizing? I know this
sizing there. Yeah. I mean, I could take as much size as I wanted on some plays, and they just worked. It was just the volume was there. I could almost do whatever I wanted. Were
you putting lower quality plays on a pedestal that weren't necessarily the quality they used to be? Like, where in 2021 and 2020, you could take a B setup and still make 100% on it. Whereas now even the A pluses or A's weren't quite working that well. And so were you maybe treating every trade like it was this A plus trade and trying to size in, maybe not going all in, but looking for that big profit, and whenever it doesn't happen, you get frustrated, then you do it again on something else, and that's when the drawdown starts? Or was it a couple of big losses?
I think it was a combination. There was a couple of big losses, and then when I saw something come up that was like, this is kind of okay, but since there had been nothing, in my mind, it was more of an A plus.
Yeah, it's just, so you were just kind of really inconsistent with your approach. Like, you went from where trading was easy in the sense of you always had something to do. You knew your patterns that you were trading, which were what? Pretty much just breakouts and first red days. Yeah. Pretty simple patterns that were there pretty often to them kind of turning off. So do you remember any of the big losses you took that kind of started 2022 off?
Yeah, it was, trading stuff kind of outside of breakouts for days, first red days.
Was that Tesla? Was that the start of the year? Did you start the year hot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I started trading some options, which are completely outside of my comfort zone.
You did too well on them.
I did too well for a little bit, and then just some really bad trades. It just spiraled. Yeah.
Okay. So you had maybe a little overconfidence to go into the year, and maybe what I tell people all the time, which is I really don't like it when a beginner, like in 2 or 3 months, starts to make money too fast, because then they have unrealistic expectations of the market or themselves or the patterns, and then that can really mess them up in the head and kind of lead you to go down the wrong path when you think it's the right path because you were just rewarded for it. And I was telling Randy here, I remember being in Florida, and I walked into, we had 2 rooms and we were just there golfing for a few days. And I walk in and he just turned on, he's got no shirt on, he's just sitting on his bed backwards, just with a laptop, and he's just grinding options at the open for Tesla. And I think he made like 150 grand that week we were there. And I was like, dude, you won the lottery. You don't know what you're doing. Like, shut it down, get rid of the options approval, and just take the money and start your year off hot. So where did the big losses come from after that then? Was it big number losses? You just couldn't seem to win and you were just dwindling off? I know you have issues with fighting stocks in the past where you're like one of the only students I ever really has ever not cut a loss and gone on some pretty insane rides.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Any of those mistakes, any of those big losses coming off of those Tesla stuff, when did the year really go wrong and why?
So it was 2022. I had that great start of the year. I think I was up 200 something thousand in maybe 2 or 3 months. And I was just gambling basically. It was no patterns. It didn't make any sense.
But I
was winning. I was basically just going to the casino every day and winning.
Yeah.
But the house always wins. So I used that to try to size up on some other plays. Those plays didn't work. So it just if I had one trade that was what I thought was an A+, but it really wasn't because our patterns weren't really showing up.
Yeah.
I took a loss that kind of, destroyed me mentally, and then moved on to the next trade. I'm like, okay, I can just go a little bit bigger, make up for that trade and more. Mm-hmm. And then that was a bigger loss. So it was just
before you know it, you're red on the year.
And then I'm red on the year. And then it's that fight of like, okay, now I have to get green on the year. And it just keeps on getting worse.
Well, at that point, you are so far away from a consistent system, a consistent approach. These are my setups. This is the way I size. This is how I cut my losses. This is how I manage risk. All you're thinking about is the money.
100%, yeah.
I'm here for the ride. I was just up 200K. Now I'm red. Now I'm thinking about getting green, but I also need the 200K back that I started the year with. It's a really dangerous place to be. And it doesn't matter if you're trading a 10K account and you're going on this swing, or you're trading $1 million account. It usually always ends up the same way, which is really poorly, because you're not doing it for, I'm not gonna say the love of the game, but you're not playing the game anymore. You're just gambling. Like you said, how long did it take you into 2022 to realize that changes need to be made? Or did you go for a while just fighting?
I fought for most of the year. It was not probably until December where I really started to size down. I mean, it was kind of just a whole, I'm coming into the new year and I don't want to start the new year like this. So in December, I really, really sized down. I think it was January of 2023 that I was like, okay, this has got to be it. Like, I need to be green this year. So sized down, stuck to my patterns, and then...
Yeah, for some reason, we have a lot of these constraints on the year that we're in, the month that we're in, the week that we're in. Oh, I don't want to trade today because I might go red on the week, or I might go red on the month. When a lot of it doesn't matter. Like, if you took the same approach you did in December of 2022 in March of 2022, like, imagine how much better of a position you'd be in right now. But so much of us are in that mindset of, I got to save the year, I got to save the month, I got to get back on track, I got to get green. We're really worried about a bunch of things that don't matter. And this is something that I did the same thing you did in December. I did it last December 2023 after having a tough 2023. And I had to just remind myself, why am I doing this? Am I doing this so that I can say that I made 100K in 2023 after being break even all year? Or am I doing this so that way I can be in the game in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and become the best trader I possibly can and continue to actually get better at it? And I think that's kind of a problem we have when you get not necessarily too good too fast, but you make too much money too fast. You lose sight of what you're doing, why you're doing it. The numbers become so big that it's just like, I'll add 10K risk here. Oh, I'm down 50 on the day. I'm going to cut it at 75 no matter what, but you went into the day risking 3K. Mm-hmm. And you find yourself in situations that are mind-blowing for a lot of people who are beginner traders or trading small accounts listening, but we were once those people too, and you very quickly become someone else. And if you're not prepared for it, by learning how to cut losses, learning how to manage risk, learning how to go through drawdowns appropriately, whereas instead of losing 250K in a drawdown, you lose 10,000. Those are a lot of lessons that you have to learn. And you talk to yourself in December 2022, I did it last year, of just I will not allow this to happen for another year. I can't believe I just went a year without making any money, donating to the market. And so did you write stuff down? Did you journal? Did you read? What did you do to say, we're getting back on track no matter what? I will be green next year and I'm going to start off hot in January.
I'm not a big journal, writing down stuff down, which I probably could be. Not a bad habit to have. I just wired out of my accounts. I closed my Clover account.
You gave up the fight? You said, I don't care if I'm not going to make back all the money I lost. Right now, you said, I want to do it the right way. And that means going from risking 20K a trade to risking 3 or 4K a trade or less, then so be it. I got to get back on track.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I wired out to 0 in Cobra, wired D-Trade down to 50K.
Okay.
And said, I'm not going to wire any money into this account. And I'm not going to wire any money into Cobra until I can prove to myself that I can profit.
And how long did that take?
I think Cobra, I wired back into mid-year.
Okay.
And E-Trade, I just never had to wire back into.
And so what kind of strategies were you playing at that point in 2023 to get back on track?
In 2023, it's mostly breakouts.
Breakouts?
Yeah.
Okay. Which were still not the best last year. There were moments when they were really good. I don't worry that when a good trade comes around, you're going to be there with size, because that you've always done that really well. Same way I would say about Jack Kellogg, where when there's an A+ setup, those are the ones you want to have the size on. You want to have the conviction. You want to have the patience. You want to be a little greedy on. You are both in that aspect very similar. Where I would differ is he knows when to pull back, put his foot off the gas and go, yeah, that was a great trade, but I'm not guaranteed one tomorrow, so I'm done.
Yeah.
And whereas you maybe go back to the well and go, here's the list of tickers running. Let's find one now to do the same thing on because I want to feel this rush again.
Yeah.
Okay, so mid 2023, you start shorting again. You start trusting yourself. How much did you size down? Like, I know you pulled money out of your accounts, but what was an average risk for you and a bad loss? And what was now in 2023 average risk versus a bad loss?
In 2022, a bad loss was probably 20, 30K in a day. And those started to be more frequent. And it was, you can't handle that for much longer.
Yeah, I think you're one of the only traders that I know that their biggest loss is bigger than their biggest win.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
not a good stat.
No, not a great, but in the years, and actually that was one of my goals of 2023 was to have my biggest gain to be my smallest loss. And
it was?
And it was, yeah.
Okay.
So in 2023, I think going into the beginning of the year, I was risking maybe 1,000, which is 2,000 a trade, which was a big step back for me.
Yeah.
But not to say that's not a lot of money to risk on a trade, but you can risk $1,000 on a trade and make 10.
For me, I went really drastic from 2022 and 2023 risking 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 a trade to, I downsized it in December of 2023 all the way down to $300 risk because I was just so over the P&L swings of like, oh, that's a car. Oh, that's a really nice car. Oh, that's a down payment on this business. Like the losses were horrible and out of control. Like you should never be losing 50, 60, 70,000, risking 3,000. But it just became like this battle I didn't want to fight anymore where it was like, if the worst case scenario is I lose $1,000 on the day, if I lose 3 times at $300 risk,
that's fine.
My brain doesn't stress, right? But even if when you start risking 3, 4, 5,000 a trade and you go through regular market cycles where you just start to lose 6 to 7K a couple days in a row, like those numbers adding up to 20, 30, 40K and just, being in a regular drawdown, like the market's not always going to be perfect for you. That began to stress me out to the point where then I'd start fighting. You have to be so mentally sharp when it comes to trading. Like you have to find balance for like the entire year because there are going to be moments that test you. You're not supposed to make money every day. You're not supposed to make money every week, and kind of being okay with that, but understanding how to do damage control by not taking trades or downsizing or, cutting back at certain times versus always showing up. I got to trade. I got to fight. I got to use big size. The market will humble you eventually.
Yeah.
So like, what are your like biggest lessons then and like advice to other people who are either just trying to find profitability the first time to coming out of drawdowns or going through hard stretches, a big loss? Like from your experience, having gone from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows to having to basically start over and find your way again in a very difficult market. It's really cool what you were able to do in 2023 when I struggled. Like that just shows you how important the mindset is and the different approaches. I was just ramping up my stupidity. He was done with his, and how important that mindset shift is where the market was the same market. We traded the same market that year and we saw very different results. So like, what advice do you have for your future self, for other traders, like going through all of that?
I think we don't stress how important it is to realize when the market is not your market. And the quicker you can realize that, the quicker you can size down and just do basically what everybody knows to do is size down, go back to basics. So the quicker you can realize that, I think the better.
What about the loss situation, letting losses balloon, fighting stocks, losses getting out of control? What is like advice for you going forward? I know we talked about this earlier this year about like trying to get you onto a hard number.
Yeah.
How do you stop people from doing damage to themselves?
I mean, if you can go to the extreme and call your broker and have them limit you, if it gets to a certain amount, they just cut you automatically. There's that, which is maybe a bit extreme.
Yeah, but necessary for some people. Imagine how much money you'd have if
I know. If
you had a 15K limit or something.
Also just having somebody who can hold you accountable. Just talking with people. I know like you've been talking to Jack and stuff like that. Like he's been holding you accountable on your rules and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, talking to people and staying accountable.
What do you think about like hard stops?
Hard stop? Yeah. I have been putting more hard stops in.
I just find it takes the stress out of a lot of it, especially when you have bigger size, like, and you don't know if you can trust yourself to cut the loss. When it's out of your hands a bit, you kind of feel like you have more control.
And that's something I like this year. Well, in previous years, I've had a bad habit of holding stocks short over their highs. And there's it's clear skies, there's no risk level.
You just kind of want to see what it does.
I'm like, oh, maybe it'll pull, maybe it's faking people out. But this year I haven't done that once.
Okay.
I haven't held anything above its previous.
That's awesome.
Like basically a breakout.
Okay, then what are your goals now? We're through 2023 into 2024 now. What were your goals coming into this year and how have you done in achieving them so far or getting on track with them?
I set like a monetary goal of about 20,000 a month.
Okay.
And I've been doing pretty well with that.
Okay. Are you continually working on sizing up or are you kind of happy? Are you like in the realm of where it's like, I don't really want to go crazy with it because I don't trust myself. I don't want to go too small, but if I can reach this goal, then I'm happy for a period of time.
I'm happy with 20 20 a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you risking per trade then?
Maybe 2,000.
And you find that that's plenty for you to do everything you want to do in the markets without having unnecessary stress?
I do step that up if I see a pattern that demands it.
Yep.
And that's kind of another goal of mine, is just to really push on those patterns that I think I need to, and dial it back when I really feel it I need to, which is right now, as I feel like a kind of a time where I do need to dial it back.
Yeah, that's kind of something I noticed too. I'm still in the process of sizing up from the $300 risk, but as the more I do it and I realize that I can still make good money doing it, it kind of makes me wonder how high I want to go with it. Like to the point of
like, do I need to make $1 million a year?
If you ever, to make 140 grand, my biggest trade ever, I had to push a lot of size. When you're in the zone and you're grinding, like that was a different time. That was early 2022, oil and gas sector. That was a lot of fun. Just a lot of risk that comes with that. And there's a lot of stress, a lot of sleepless nights. And it's just like, what are my goals going forward forever? Because I think maybe that is the number, 1 to 2K. And you can make a lot of money doing that. You can pyramid into a lot of plays and get yourself up to maybe 5 to 10K risk if it's like A++. Because there are 5 to 10 plays a year that probably demand it.
Yeah.
I'm not ready personally to size into those just because I'm trying to really prove consistency to myself.
I mean, look what you just did on Fannie Mae. Over 20,000, risking 500.
We're talking about my record trade from it's last year right now, you know?
Yeah.
And that's all that really matters to me. It's not necessarily the money. It's more of just like, I still have this skill. And when I'm being very consistent, I can get all of my goals every year. Yeah. And a big goal of mine this year is green every month, because I don't know if I've ever done that. Maybe 1 year, maybe probably 2021 or 20. But that's like proof to me. If I can do it for 12 months in a row, follow my rules, continually slowly size up, then I've proved that I'm consistent again.
Yeah,
because
you can just trust yourself.
Consistency is a hard thing to find. I think Kyle's probably the most consistent trader I know. And it's impressive what he's done over 8 years. Like, I think he's had like 1 or 2 red months, and it's just insane. And that's what I want for myself, because if I'm going to do it for 5 or 10 more years, then I don't want to be on the roller coaster ride anymore, because it's not fun. It's not fun. Learn from us so you don't have to go on those rides.
Ever dreamed of trading like one of the Clovers? Well, it all starts with the right broker. Clover Trading and Centerpoint Securities have teamed up to supercharge your trading experience. By joining Unlock the Power of CP Edge exclusively with Centerpoint. We're talking top-tier trading tools worth over $6,000, all at your fingertips. Get ahead with real-time scanners, cutting-edge news, and a tailor-made trading journal. Experience trading like never before with superior short inventory, personalized support, and interest on your idle funds. Plus, you can get competitive pricing that fits your trading style. Ready to elevate your trading game? Click the Clover Trading link in the description below to get exclusive deals with Centerpoint Securities. Now let's get back to the content.
Okay, so any other last thoughts, advice for any beginners, advice to your past self, your future self, anything you want to say kind of as we wrap this up and we start to head towards summer now in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say to my future self, I guess, just think long term. Or any new traders, just think long term. There are so many times when I would have a bad trade and I was thinking like, okay, I need to make this back tomorrow. I need to make this back this week or whatever. But if I think in a year's time, is today really going to matter that much? If I go back to my patterns and just trade how I know I can trade, is today really going to matter? Why let that ruin your next day's trading?
Well, that's good advice. That whole marathon versus sprint mindset of and that's something that really opened my eyes. Like I said last year, just thinking like, if I'm doing this for 10 more years, I can't do it on this trajectory. Once you start to really think like that, especially if you can do that early, 2, 3, 4, or 5 months in, and just go, I don't care where I'm at next month. I'm going to let the chips fall. I'm just going to put in the work. I'm going to put in the time. I'm going to find a trading accountability buddy. I'm going to track all my stats. I'm going to study every single night. It will happen for you when it's ready to happen. And then from there, it's just about being as consistent as possible for as long as possible, because drawdowns aren't fun and they're necessary and everyone's going to go through them in some shape or form. Sometimes it's just one bigger loss than you didn't expect. Sometimes it's a month where you just can't seem to get it right. But hopefully interviews like this and lessons like this can help you get back on track faster. I also have a ton of videos over at clovertrading.io where I document many different types of drawdowns and how I have managed to get out of every single one of them so far. But that's it. Thank you, sir, for being here today. Randy Walker.
Thanks for having me.
He is in the room if you want to chirp him. He doesn't really actively go and try to talk, but you can have access to him if you want. If you want to know more about him, maybe we can bring him on a Wine Wednesday in the future as well. But make sure you like this video, comment if you learned something, if you have any questions for Randy. But we will see you guys in the next one, and thank you for being here.